the very important thing with Memphis is that we basically went to Memphis in April last year. We believed that, the yields were amazing. They were over 20% net yields. And it really was something that we were interested in. However, we were a little bit concerned about the guy on the ground, the team on the ground. And to be honest, what are the two things that are the riskiest things to any business? What are the two things? Cash flow, partners. I believe they're the same two things. Basically, it's a business growing too fast or a business growing too slowly. Because if you grow too fast, you can't actually manage anything. And when we were there in April, these guys were doing huge volume in Memphis, and we didn't believe they'd be able to keep up from a management perspective. We went in October. It was Teresa and myself and Raleen and Brendan. And we actually got introduced to Marathon because they decided they couldn't do their management themselves, and they handed it over to Marathon. And it was the best thing that ever happened to us because we finally found people on the ground that we could trust, and it was a very interesting experience. I don't know if Michiel's in the room as well, but most people remember I pulled them over at Memphis Airport, and I said, guys, look, you must understand, in Atlanta and Orlando, they've got curb appeal, which Jaco mentioned. It means when you arrive at the curb, it's got appeal. Okay, the property, it looks nice. Whereas Memphis is much more of a balance sheet item. It's your profit and loss, and you're getting an income. However, when we met these guys, and they gave us a presentation, which you're about to see, we were all blown away by the professionalism of the company and what they were actually doing. And subsequently, since then, we found out about the financing options that they're doing. And yes, the yields have retracted from 20%, but I'm going to let Eric explain why. Because we've realized that it's better to be in the better areas with slightly lower return because it makes a safer investment. And with the financing, it allows us to go into those areas. So over to you, Eric. Thanks very much. And to be fair, just a quick one, it was his birthday yesterday. He shared his birthday in South Africa.
Okay. Before I get started, I'd like you to do me a favor, if you don't mind. Would everyone just kind of slide to the end of their seat? Scoot up in your seat, please. Please placate me. Help me out here. Slide up into the end of your seat. Okay, that's great. Hang on just 1 second. Okay. Now I can go back and to Memphis and tell them I had everybody in Joburg on the end of their seat. It's a great deal for me. Okay, Hewlett Gregory is the owner of Memphis Cash Flow and Marathon Management. And before I talk about Hewlett, I'm going to talk about myself. I started doing business with investors in Memphis in 2003. I had a mortgage brokerage. I did financing for U.S. investors, and that's all I worked with. I didn't work with anybody who wanted to live in the house, only investment property. Did business with over 250 investors, financed about 1,500 properties. And one day in 2004, Hewlett walked into my office. He was a regional manager for Wells Fargo Banking, and he wanted to build a rental portfolio so he could replace his income with Wells Fargo and leave his job. So we did a little consulting. We came up with a plan. I think ultimately I financed about 30 properties for Hewlett and his wife. And over that time, I stayed in the mortgage business until the mortgage collapsed, obviously. And then I went into the private sector with a gentleman that owned 150 residential and commercial properties and 9 different businesses as an operations manager. So I've been involved in investment in Memphis for quite some time. But here's the thing. I worked with every single operator in Memphis over that time period. I did loans for their customers, their clients, and I know all of them. And out of all of those people, looking at what Hewlett has grown into over the last 10 years, he is the person I chose to go to work with. And I think you should probably make the same choice. He's absolutely become the best operator in Memphis. So with that being said, we'll move on. Memphis is a great market. We've got music, we've got distribution, we've got casinos, we've got all kind of fun stuff. Hewlett today, he owns Memphis Cash Flow, which is our acquisition arm, Marathon Management, which is our management company. We also have a real estate license with Marathon, full-blown real estate company. H&J Properties is the properties that Hewlett is holding himself to rent. And then we've got Gregory Realty, which does commercial stuff. REI Capital, we do what we call hard money lending in the States with REI. And then White Station Partners is a condo, or in your language, I guess, an apartment project that we have. Talking about Memphis itself, there's 1.3 million residents in the metro area, 680,000 residents in the city of Memphis proper. It's the 17th largest city in the U.S., top 10 cities to invest in real estate according to Business 2.0. No major run-ups in the prices. It's a home to more Fortune 500 companies than Los Angeles. FedEx is headquartered there, AutoZone and International Paper. One of every top 5 rental, one of the top 5 rental return on investment markets in the U.S. The overall cost of living is 10% lower than the national average, and it also has no state income tax, just like Florida. 62% of the population in the city of Memphis rents. That's an interesting statistic. The national average is 28. It's a major center for medicine and biomedical field. We have a 5-year appreciation currently of 18.76%. Memphis market typically over the last 10 years has increased 4%. And whereas some of these other markets like California in general and Las Vegas, for instance, had this very, very high appreciation of property, and when the mortgage meltdown hit, just boom, hit bottom. That didn't really happen in Memphis. Yeah, we felt the impact of the mortgage meltdown because the financing wasn't readily available for U.S. citizens anymore. But other than that, it didn't really hurt us too bad in terms of the capital growth aspects. Now, it has the 9th most foreclosures, with 1 in 49 homes in foreclosure, according to Realty Track. And it also has quite high in the United States in terms of bankruptcies for any given county in the United States. And what that creates is kind of the perfect storm in Memphis. There's a continual supply of foreclosures for investors to look at and buy, and there's a continual supply of renters, the people who cannot buy a house and need to rent. Memphis is primarily a distribution economy. In terms of affordable housing, it is also #1 for affordable housing for retirees. So we'll move on. It has an enviable geographic location. It's a world distribution center. Memphis is what's termed an aeropolis. And what that means basically is it has air transport for shipping. It has 4 of the 5 major railroads run through Memphis. It has the Mississippi River, which is the largest river in the United States, running north and south, and it has a real good highway infrastructure. There's plenty of trucking, as well as it being located right in the middle of the United States. So Memphis is about distribution. The FedEx Global World Hub has 30,000 employees. Scott tells me that just the FedEx section of the airport is as big as the Cape Town airport in total. Just to give you an idea of how much product we move in and out of Memphis. It's the 3rd biggest railroad center. More trucking companies are based in Memphis than anywhere else. And only 1 of 4 major cities that I-69 will pass through, and that's the new highway they're building from Canada to Mexico. So really, if you look at Memphis, it's a distribution economy. To give you an idea of how that impacts you, we'll use Orlando, for example. Every single product that Disney makes, no matter where it's made, even China, is shipped to Memphis. If you order a Disney product anywhere in the world, it comes from Memphis. So it just gives you kind of an idea of what drives Memphis. It's basically its location. All right, we talked about the population that rents. We talked about the increased demand for aggressive price investment property and it being constantly available. Property values are increasing across the board, but at a very slow pace. So you're not going to see huge capital growth opportunities, capital gain opportunities in Memphis. What you are going to see is the best return on investment in terms of your rental dollars coming in. That's what we're about. You've got low purchase prices and a higher rate of return. Basically, what we do with Memphis Cash Flow is we provide a turnkey solution. We'll take investor A. That's the guy trying to do it himself. He's got to go find a realtor or a wholesaler. He's got to get on the internet or whatever, find a deal, make offer after offer after offer after offer after offer, and finally he'll get a property. Then he's got to begin his due diligence and find trustworthy contractors, supervise the rehab, pay for the rehab and the property, apply for financing if that be the case, market the property, screen the tenants, make sure the rents are collected, and on and on and on. Memphis cash flow, pretty simple. We do all that. We're good at it. We're probably the best at it in Memphis, and you just work with us. We handle everything. So you're done, complete. We deliver steeply discounted houses. We have relationships with non-recourse and recourse lenders. We have all-star closing and title company. The title attorneys we work with close hundreds of real estate deals. They know what our standards are. They're going to make sure you're not charged too much money for their services. We're going to make sure their services are top-notch, doing your title search and so forth. We've got insurance referrals. We provide all the renovation with a 30-day guarantee after the tenant moves in. And we offer our property management through Marathon, and I'll get more into that later. All right, so basically we're talking about cash flow. You know, if you look at my business card, the name of our company is Memphis Cash Flow. That's what we're about. And on the back side, we've got the Marathon Management. We want to talk a little bit about financing, and this is something that I don't want to get into the particulars of the different finance plans. If you do business in our market, we'll cover all the details. What I want to talk to you more about right now is a conceptual issue of why you want to do financing or gear or leverage. Okay, what we're talking about here is a 240-month loan with a 15-year balloon, just for quick details. Interest rate we're using for this projection is 12%. All right, so we have an $80,000 property. It brings in $975 a month in rent. And you'll notice something on all of our projections, we're very conservative. So we're going to figure that 4 months of the rent is going to be required to meet the property manager, the taxes, the insurance, the vacancy, maintenance, and other expenses. So let's look at what our return is here if we buy this $80,000 property. $975 times 8 months, $7,800. We've invested $80,000. Return on investment 9.75. Okay? Now let's look at the financing for just a second. Let's say we make a 50% down payment and we finance $40,000. Payment is going to be $440 a month or $52.86 a year. Let's see what our return is. $975 times 8 months, $7,800 minus the loan payments equals still a positive cash flow of $2,500 divided by 40,000, 6.285%. So at a glance, all the cash investment yield of 9.75 is superior to the yield of the 6.285. All right, well, let's take a little closer look at that. What we're going to do now is we're going to interject the OPM discount. Does everybody know what the OPM discount is? No? It's other people's money. Okay, that's what it is. It's the other people's money discount. Your tenant is making your loan payments, not you. All right? So we're going to take a look at how that affects it. If you look at an amortization schedule on that same loan we just talked about above, you'll see that the first year the principal payment was $512. That's an extra 1.28% yield coming to you through using your tenant's money to pay your loan. We add that to the 6,285 and we now have 7.5. We look at the second year, the principal payment's $1,090. That increases the yield 2.73%. Now the second year we're looking at 9% return. The third year it's $1,741 in principal payments, increasing the yield 4.35%. Now we're looking at 10.64 return on investment. That's better than the cash on cash that we looked at. So in 3 years, the gearing, the financing, exceeds the cash on cash. And this is the concept that I wanted you to look at when you're talking about financing with properties. Okay, and that's basically my point on that. Okay, basically our experience, our relationships, and the market itself is what you're relying on when you do business with us. The number one most important thing, it doesn't matter how good the property is you buy. It doesn't matter what good location you buy the property in. If your property is not managed properly, you will lose money. The biggest advantage to dealing with us is that we own both the acquisition and the management company. And it's founded by investors for investors. We understand investment thinking, and we also know this. When we sell a property to you, we're going to have to live with you for a long time. So we don't want to sell you anything that we wouldn't buy ourselves. Okay? I'm going to talk a little bit too about our management systems. This is something our clients really love.
Just while he's getting up that management system, Hewlett personally owns over 100 properties. They manage over 1,300 properties. The average vacancy across their whole portfolio is 6.1%, and the average rental is 23 months. So just in terms of numbers. And I think one of the other things that I think is quite important is about 300 of the properties are international investors.
Yeah.
So about 300. So, you know, you're not the guinea pig going out there and they're dealing with someone overseas. And that's why the system that he's about to show you is so important.
Our international clients love this program. You can put your property management system on your iPhone, which is kind of fun. I'm going to log in and show you how it works real quickly. And I'm going to go fast here. I'm just going to overview it. You know, if you need detailed information, you can see me after the event is over with. This is the back side of our software, which you see up at the top. You've got a plethora of different things we can do on our end. But the other thing we want to take a look at is what the portal looks like for you. It's really cool the way it's set up. Just take me a second to get into it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to log in as you, so to speak. All right, which we have the ability to do on our side as well, so we can see what you're looking at. Sometimes you ask us a question, what's he looking at? All right, we can figure it out. Couple of things. You have all your general account information. You can update your information, your email, whatever the case may be. You can update your banking information, everything on here. Another thing you can do with us that we really like, and the international people seem to love, you can create a conversation. So while I'm sleeping, if you have a question, you type it in, you hit save, boom, it notifies us. Then when you're sleeping, I'll come in, I'll see the notification, I'll answer your question, and you'll have it when you wake up. It provides a monthly statement, automatically electronically transfers your money at the end of every month, which is certainly important. And along with that comes an email with a detailed statement. All of your statements will stay on your portal, so you, at the end of the year, can just basically email the accountant, CPA person that's going to do your taxes, all of the statements. You can see here that Hewlett's last month, $60,000 in rental income, and
just in my interest, who here would like to live in South Africa in this awesome environment and earn £60,000 passive income from your American properties? That's the game plan.
Yeah, so
whether South Africa's going up or down is irrelevant. You earn in a first world country with a first world income, and you know that's the person that's behind this company.
Okay, so this gives you detail, and if there's any expenses, and you can see it breaks down property by property by property by property, and that gets a little boring to go over that. But okay, that's where I want to be. I want to be here. All right. Say there's a bill or a maintenance issue or anything that you might want to look at. Here's a bill on Hewlett's portfolio for $100. This all of a sudden shows up. You go, whoa, whoa, what are they spending this $100 for? Let's take a look. Okay, here's the detail. Section 8 inspection. All right, so what that is, it's a government program where the government pays the rent for the tenant. We like that because the government pays on time. They do require an inspection, so we've got to send somebody out, sit around for 2 or 3 hours to wait for the government inspector to show up so he can bless the house, and we do the Section 8 rental. And, you know, I guess dealing with the government's the same everywhere, so we got to pay somebody to sit around and wait for them, so it costs $100 to do this Section 8 inspection. Every single document that we ever publish on your portal will be on there forever. You can see all the leases that were written are all here, other documents, bills, maintenance issues, everything's there. So everybody really kind of likes this because it gives them access, it gives them real-time rental reports, this live tenant payment report. We might be lagging 3 days to post the payments, but for the most part, when that rent comes in, you're going to see it. The portal automatically notifies you about a lot of different things that happen. So that's pretty good system. Our clients like it a lot. And we do too because it's real easy to communicate. Next thing I want to do is go over the properties. This is part of the portal as well. This is our retail rental site where all the properties for rent show up, and the tenants, prospective tenants, could go in, find what information they want, contact our leasing agents and whatnot. We just took on a portfolio of 200 properties. 103 of them were vacant, so we've got quite a lot more available listings than we normally have. But that's good, because I can actually use this to teach you about the Memphis market and how we buy the properties. First thing to understand is Memphis was formed right on the river. Years ago, water was the main mode of transportation in the U.S. And Memphis can't go west, obviously, because the river's there, and they didn't want to go across the river in West Memphis. Give you an idea, you know, even now today, everybody's still running around barefoot over there. So we don't do anything on that side of the river. Memphis grown to the east. So the more east you go, the more north you go, the more southeast you go, the newer the properties get, the more expensive and so forth. There's a couple of areas we like and don't like in Memphis. This little area up here in the top called North Haven, we don't buy anything in that area. And you can see that there are some C properties that we're managing for other investors who did buy in that area. And basically, here's our criteria. If we go into an area and it's C, D, and E class houses, we class all our houses A, B, C, D, and E. If it's C, D, and E class houses and the best houses in that area are C classes, we avoid it. So that's what you see there. Also down here by the airport, on both sides of the airport, we don't mess with that area. We don't buy inside of this 240 loop, except for this little out east area here and a little bit about Memphis State. Again, the reason you see all these other properties in that area is because we do manage properties for other investors. I'm going to show you on pricing, typical rent range, if you look up here in the upper right-hand corner, for a C-class property is $695 to $825. So I'm just going to go ahead and search for that, and it's going to give me now, instead of 183 properties.
Just in terms of the values, a C-class is looking at anything from $50,000, $55,000 to about $70,000.
Yeah, and I'll show you some C-class houses in a second. I just want to give you an idea. Okay, so we got 79 available rentals. That's kind of interesting because yesterday it was 83, so we're renting some houses. That's good. C-class house is going to be something like this. It's going to be a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, 2 bath, 1,500 square feet or thereabouts. It's going to be a ranch-style house. In other words, typically it's not 2 stories. It's going to have a decent lot, maybe 1/4 of an acre. And it's going to have a covered carport. It's going to be brick and wood construction. This is a house on Vicky. That's one of our C-class houses. There's the back of the house. It's all wood. Front of the house was all brick. It's going to have an adequate kitchen, washer and dryer hookups, or a laundry room. It's going to be, you know, an average type bathroom, and it's going to have maybe some hardwood flooring or concrete, what do you call it, stained concrete, ceiling fans. You know, nice, clean place to live, basically, is what we're talking about. There's a couple of other pictures of the interior. You can see the parquet flooring, and we like ceramic tile as it verts to a linoleum, and we do have to do floor work because it's just more durable. Here's another C-class property. This one's selling for $59,900. Rent on that one, it's rented at $695 a month. 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath. This is a townhouse. It's in that Hickory Hill area. And then here's another one we can look at real quick. This isn't what I would call a typical house, although it's structured about the same as a typical house. Brick and wood with the carport. It's just a little different look.
Does anyone in this room recognize this property? We have an owner in this room of that property.
Okay, so we move on now to the B-class properties. B-class properties are going to sell basically 65 to 90 in that range. This particular one is 88,900, 3-bedroom, 2 baths, 1,200 square feet. So that's 121 square meters. Built in 1997, and it's a pretty nice house. There we go. Here's some pictures. Here's your neighborhood up here that the house is in. This one is all brick all the way around. You can see the floor plan is more open, spacious, little higher grade lighting. This is stained concrete on this family room and living room. And then you can see the kitchen is a little bit different. It's not the galley style kitchen, but it has the breakfast bar and whatnot. And this is one of the upstairs bedrooms. So it gives you kind of an idea of what our B-class house is. In looking at the area for a B-class house, we'll kind of put the rent range in here on B-class, and I'll show you again a little bit something more about how we buy in Memphis. All right, I want to go 95. Sorry, bing. All right, so you can see now that we're moving more east. We don't have anything in this little area here that's going down towards the casinos. By the way, Memphis is the third largest gambling destination in the U.S. There is 9 full-blown casinos about 30 minutes right down this road, and many, many people live in this area that work at the casinos. This is where Elvis Presley's house is, right here, in Whitehaven, so we like all that area. That whole area there is good. As we go more into Germantown, we like that area. Germantown itself is the upper crust area of Memphis. In all of last year, there were only 3 foreclosures in Germantown. It's almost impossible to buy investment property there. It sells for full price, and it sells fast. And then we get more into this Cordova area, which is the area we really like, and Bartlett, and the Raleigh area. And you see that the B houses are now going more east and more north, and they're newer houses. So that's kind of an example of that. Then we'll move on to the A-class houses. We'll go 1195 to whatever, 1995. The most expensive rental we have in the portfolio right now is $21.95 a month. So I mean, you could get up there, but meat and potato stuff, you can see the A-class houses are going to rent $12.95, $13.95, $14.95, and that's about it. Now we're looking at 8 available listings in the A-class houses, and you see they're all out east. They're wrapped around Germantown and Bartlett and Cordova. So I'll give you a view of the A-class houses, and this would be an A-class right here. This one is 4415 Bunker Hill. It's a much larger house, brick, 2-story, selling for $114.9, rents for $13.95 a month. It is rented 238 square meters, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, covered garage, 2-car attached garage, and so forth. Let me see if I have any other pictures on this. Yeah, here's a few more. You can see the kitchen and the dining room and the interior trim. You've got the chair molding and the crown molding and the ceiling fans and the garden jacuzzi tub. So it's going to be a little nicer house, basically. All right, I think I've got everything. Have I skipped anything, Scott?
No, I think the most important thing with Memphis, you're probably going to understand from all the different areas, we're not very interested on a city that is reliant on one thing. You know, one industry that might go out of business. At the end of the day, their geographical location is key. Again, your tenants are the people working in the distribution centers, $30,000 to $50,000, and they're renting in these areas. You know, that's the kind of. I think with Memphis, as Eric's already said, the one thing I would say is we've done these buyers trips now. We did one in October, we've done one in February, and all the people on the buyers trip actually believe that Marathon were one of the most professional companies that they've actually met, you know, in terms of, so it's not just the beginning through the end, you know, in terms of everything they do, the attention to detail. And one little example of what I'm talking about is that before we arrived at a house, they actually sent someone before us to open up the house, switch on the lights. You know, it's just, I've done property all over the world. No one's ever done that before. And, you know, if they're taking that little attention to detail, then I'm sure they're looking after everything else all the way through. So thank you very much for your time. It's really awesome having you here. And